everyone. My name is Gabriel Montalvo, and this is another edition of Talking GOP. I'm filling in for our regular host, George Santos, and with me is the lovely Katie Hopkins, who will be a guest speaker at our upcoming Lincoln dinner. Katie, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you very much for having me. And as you know, and our listeners will pick up on, we'll have a slight delay because I am over this side of the pond and you're on that side of the pond. So we're going to try and work around together to make this work. But as things stand, I'm currently at Terminal 5 in Heathrow, and I'm flying out to New York tomorrow. So super excited to be coming out and super excited as well. And I have a lot of people coming to that dinner. Going to be a great event.
Oh, definitely. We are super excited to have you. You're going to be sharing the stage with Steve Bannon, and you mentioned being across the pond. Now, I wanted to ask you, do you think that Brexit, the momentum of the Brexit movement came from our side of the pond, the 2016 election of Donald Trump?
So how that worked was, there's so many parallels always between the UK and the US. But essentially, we voted Brexit before you guys went for election in 2016, unbelievably, because it's such a long time ago. We voted to leave the European Union on the 23rd of June 2016. But the powers that be, the establishment, the leftists, who didn't want to leave the EU, they stopped the will of the people for 4 years nearly. We couldn't get what we voted for. But what was so fantastic about the people voting for Brexit was that it ran contrary to what everything was told. We were told that Remain was the right answer. We were told that Remain would win. And it was very, very similar to your election in 2016 with Trump. Because, of course, your polls and everybody was saying Clinton would win. There was a 98% Clinton would win. And the joy of the thing was Trump obviously blew them all out of the water. Remains one of my favourite moments in my life is watching CNN try to call the election result and try to call Pennsylvania, because it was as if they'd have the kind of terrible policy of face because they couldn't bring themselves to call out that Trump had won Pennsylvania. It was a great day. So the very same people who voted Brexit, great Brits, great patriots, they share a lot in common with the sort of people that voted Trump into office. True American patriots want the best for their country.
Definitely. And a lot of people give out this nickname, I guess, because it's now popular. But I would say that you would be the first person I would consider to call the female version of Trump when it comes to the non-PC, the promotion of free speech and ideas. How do you take that?
Yes, so I get called a lot of names. For people that don't know me, I'm known, I suppose, as an outspoken British commentator. For some people, I am a figure of hate. I am wildly and widely hated here in the UK. I've been called the biggest bitch in Britain. I've been reported to the police for the things I say. I've been arrested for a column in a newspaper. I am the kind of Trump of the UK in that sense. I'm always a target here. But ultimately, I'm just a mum and 3 children. I'm a wife. I'm a straight, white, Christian, conservative.
That's dangerous to say.
Right. And because of all those things, that's what made me the target of a lot of hate. But very importantly, I enjoy and I'm so grateful for an overwhelming support, both in the UK, in America, South Africa, Australia. A huge audience I'm very fortunate to have, and it's really my supporters that light the way. And I'm really grateful to everybody that continues to give me a platform to allow me to speak, especially in America, where you still have your First Amendment because of your Second.
Right, and which is constantly under assault by the left wing of the American politics. And it's a real shame, and I want to get into how our American left is trying to strip us of our rights. But what's a real shame is, as politically correct as the UK is, from what I've seen, and Europe in general, if they type, your name up, it'll just be a whole bunch of articles blasting you, calling you mean names, saying mean things about you. Whatever happened to... Why don't you get the same amount of respect as someone like maybe even Piers Morgan? I know he's been shifting a little bit, but people don't really afford that same courtesy. But I guess that's the only thing we can expect from the tolerant left.
Yes, I think Piers Morgan is an interesting case in point. He is a judge who will shift his opinion according to what keeps him in the role that he has. I think for me, my views have always been much more authentic in terms of what I really believe. I've always been fighting for my country. I started off in the British Army. I went through the Royal Military Academy, Sandhurst. I signed up to be an officer in the intelligence corps for 35 years. So my belief and my determination to fight for the country are grounded in something much bigger than just having things to say or have clicks, which I think is where there's more of that. But of course, the attacks are much more than just nasty words line. I'm not worried about those. There has been an assassination attempt of me, a couple of jihadis to chop my head off. They're in prison now. And there was a play actually after that, a play commissioned by British State, was called The Assassination of Katie Hopkins. And those billboards went up and down the UK. So actually speaking out here in the UK right now does come to an extraordinary price for an ordinary kind of mother like myself.
So what we've seen is you have protection for radical, and I'm using radical and extreme so people don't twist my words here, but you have radical jihadists tossing grenades and stabbing people in England, and that's okay. And you speaking, that's wrong. But at the same time, it's encouraged when they're making films about assassination. It's insane.
Yes, this is the insanity of our times. And that's why I spend quite a lot of time in America speaking about this, not because I feel sorry for myself. There's no pity. In many ways, if I put myself out there, I have to suck it up. I tell my young girls and the young people that write to me that they no longer have a voice. I say to them, if you put yourself out there, not everybody's going to like what you have to say, and some people will hate you, and we have to accept that. But I think we've moved well beyond that. We've moved to a place in the UK now where the truth is actually hate speech, and there is a police force tasked with policing hate speech, and therefore the truth is now an arrestable offence. And so when I'm speaking out, for example, about majority Pakistani Muslim grooming gangs targeting our white girls, and you'll know about that, and I'm sure when I speak out honestly about those grooming gangs and what's happening, I received a knock on the home house where my children warning me to be. So that's the reality of the UK, is that if you think the wrong thought, the police turn up at your door.
It's very Orwellian. And have you, for those at home who might not know, have you had the chance to meet the President of the United States?
I have never met Donald Trump, which is it's a fake test. He knows I love him. And I get messages from Charlie Kirk and others telling me that he loves me too. But honestly, that's not good enough. I need to see the man in person. And he tweets me, he tweets my stuff. Obviously, that comes to life as well. Mm-hmm. Last time Donald Trump tweeted me, they removed my PayPal, and then they came from my bank account as well. So that's the penalty for having Donald Trump just tweet you. But I did see Donald Trump Jr. the other day. That's not the same thing, I know. But I did ask him to pass on, rather, that if anything ever happens with Melania, they're ready and waiting to be obviously exploded. Just a lot less glam.
I'm sure that he appreciated that a lot. Now, when we were on the phone preparing for the show, you had mentioned that you wanted to speak a little bit about this. Now, I believe the World Health Organization is calling this a pandemic, the coronavirus. Here in New York State, where I am currently serving in the Army National Guard here, the governor has actually activated soldiers throughout the state here to try and help the situation. So do you find it as something, as a political tool, or do you find that this is an actual threat that the media is making this out to be?
Well, I think firstly, good on you, and thank you for your service.
Thank you.
And you must be proud. I'm sure you're very proud of you as well. I'm always so thrilled with anybody that's serving in any regard. So hooray for you, and I cheer you away. Second, yes, the leadership of the World Health Organization issued a 5-page document that says that stigma of the of coronavirus, is more dangerous than coronavirus itself. And it was basically trying to threaten on how we talk about coronavirus. So you're not allowed to say Asian flu. You're not allowed to say Wuhan flu. You're not allowed to say that some people have infected others, because that's just blame. And you must talk about positives and be upbeat. So that's the crazy of the World Health Organization. Listen, coronavirus is real, but I also think we need to be effective. We need to recognise here in the UK there have been 163 cases, but only 6 deaths. And personally, speaking just about myself, and without any influence what this means for the elderly, my parents, I'm actually rather destroyed. Because if you're a long traveller of the road, I am essentially just a gypsy. I'm always on my rucksack. The trains are empty. I can get a seat on the train, I can plug my phone in, I can get a hotel room and a space at the bar. You know, so for me, coronavirus is working out pretty well.
Oh, well.
If I get by it next week and I can't, then we'll revise that.
All right, definitely. But it's you can actually get on a train now, as opposed to Greta Thunberg, who famously said that once she came back from sailing around the world fighting climate change, that she could no longer get a seat on the train until the actual train company tweeted out, "You were in first class and there was enough seats, so what sort of message are you pushing here?" So
that's so true.
Yeah.
And also, we just had Greta Thunberg here in one of our cities, Bristol, and it was just as the coronavirus was breaking. So we had kids coming back from their ski trips, their fancy ski trips, you know, because they're so worried about the climate, they're still going skiing.
Right.
They were coming back from northern Italy, where the virus has been particularly bad. And of course, Greta Thunberg decided to get them all together, 35,000 in a city centre, while they had the coronavirus. So thanks for that, Greta.
Yeah, I mean, next time you should just invite her to travel with you so you can offer her a seat. I think that would be the nicest thing to do for someone who has taken the fight against the United States and climate change, because, as you know, we are the worst when it comes to this. Not China. It can never be China, or as the president likes to say, China. And you also, we mentioned yesterday that you wanted to talk about the open border policies that the EU loves to keep around.
Yeah, and it's one of the things that the reasons, or one of the reasons that many of us voted Brexit, 17.4 million great British people, whom I love dearly, voted to leave the EU because we wanted to take back control of our borders. The same story as the Trump vote or Salvini vote, or anybody who's a patriot populist who knows that our sovereign countries are precious and we need to protect them. So the EU is big on open borders. Everybody can move everywhere. Free movement of goods and people. What's just happened right now, and it's the latest kind of breaking news out of Europe, is that Erdogan, Turkey, he always threatened to release migrants onto Europe. And that's exactly what he's just done. He was holding Syrians, Afghanis, all sorts of individuals, mostly from a Muslim faith. He has just forced them onto the border. So as we're speaking right now, the border of Greece is under attack. There are thousands and thousands, if not millions, of migrants being pushed up into Europe by Erdogan, who has always said that this is the great biblical battle, or the great battle, not biblical in his sense, between the present and the cross. And it really feels that this is the moment for Europe, because we need to defend the border. And what the hashtag people can see, or they want to have a little look, is I stand with Greece. And there you'll see conflict at the border. And we really cannot afford to take another 2 million Muslim migrants. Otherwise, we're completely open.
Now, my question is, when you hear, the famous term was like Syrian refugees or just the refugee crisis, we find that, and you can confirm this because I'd say that you're more so on the front lines of seeing this happening. Are they, when they say migrants, are they saying women and children escaping from war and poverty, or are we seeing men between the ages of 18 to mid-30s, fighting age, storming through countries?
Yeah, and you're right. It's always the same story. And I think people are really waking up. One of the great things is that people are waking up. So when people see NGOs, non-governmental organizations, people have started to realize that those organizations aren't working with us. They're not working with our countries. They're working actively against us. They are part of the human trafficking network. I've watched them in action at your southern border with the Catholic charities and others, basically trafficking humans through. So the same thing happening at our border. The NGOs are there managing the flow of these migrants. And of course, people there sticking in front of cameras are a woman with a baby, a little girl in a wheelchair, brand new wheelchair, I don't know where that came from. And those are the images they're trying to sell to the media. But of course, we're now getting sad because, of course, what we're actually facing is another million or possibly 2 million fighting age men. And so I'm really, there's pride in me that people are waking up. People are questioning the media. People are no longer being told. And Trump and 64 billion Americans have a massive part to play in that. And I think it's part of the fight for our Christian culture that we're trying to defend.
Definitely. So I think some of the most interesting footage of these refugees came from when not only in Sweden during the no-go zones, when those were starting to be exposed. I believe it was by journalist Tim Pool, but when these migrants did not receive chocolate in one of their meal kits and tried to destroy a French street. It was really insane.
There's been a lot of that. So I spent quite a lot of time. Tim did a great job this weekend. I joined the migrants that were crossing from Libya to Italy last summer and the summer prior to that. And I think it's something we saw a lot of. Each of these migrants, when they arrive, are worth 45 euros a head. So call that, $60 a head. So every time a hotel or hostel places those migrants into their hostel, they're getting some of that money. So this is kind of the traffic flex, comes with a profit margin. But these migrants are great. There is no sense of them having gratitude for being rescued or saved or given a new opportunity at your life. They believe they are owed. So in the Italian town I was in, outside one of these hostels it was completely full with migrants at 45 euros a head, more than a regular Italian today. They were striking off the traffic in the middle of the road because their rice was too soft. There was also another protest they kept quiet at the hostel because they weren't allowed access to Wi-Fi. So any idea of migrants coming and being kind of grateful, or this idea of the big dream, this coming, people used to start this new life, melting pot, New York. It's nothing like that. These people are coming and they will kill anything, kill anyone that gets in their way, and they have very high expectations what they deserve, what they have a right.
Right. And you had mentioned free speech, and you had mentioned fighting for it, and you'd also mentioned the mainstream media. Your mainstream media, if I'm not mistaken, is controlled, I'd say, more so by the government through the BBC. And how have they treated you when it comes to just you?
Oh, well, so I mean, a couple of interesting things that Americans are always kind of surprised about is that our state media, BBC, is something we are forced to pay for. So we are taxed. We have to pay 145 pounds a year for the BBC. If we don't pay that fee, then we can be put to jail. And people are in jail right now because they haven't paid for the BBC. So there is this kind of idea that, well, at least in Korea, people get their propaganda free. Can be put in jail if we don't pay for the leftists tell us what we're supposed to think and say. Our TV service here took Fox News off the air. They removed it completely because we were just not allowed to see it anymore. It's seen as being wrong, and therefore we're not allowed to view it. And I used to be part of the mainstream. I used to be the columnist on Men Online. I used to have a radio show, a national radio show out of London. But when I stopped saying the things that I was supposed to say, or refusing to say just the things I was supposed to say, I lost all of my jobs pretty quickly.
Right. And ladies and gentlemen, for those of you looking and watching this at home, either be your television screen or your computer screen, what you have in front of you is a testimonial of someone living under siege, where they are really being thought policed, where people aren't able to say what's on their mind without somebody, in this case the police, really knocking on your door and saying, we need to talk about what is it that you just said. You don't have the right to think or express your own opinions, and God forbid you don't pay your tax on the same people that are censoring you, because we're going to haul you away anyways. So I think that having you on the show today, and us speaking, and then you speaking at the Lincoln dinner, it will really open a lot of people's minds, because at least here, not only on Talking GOP, but in the U.S., and especially the conservative wing of our politics, we appreciate and take note of what's happening, and we thrive on hearing stuff like this, so that for us to keep fighting the tyranny. And that's the way I can, explain it. You can tell me that I'm being a little bit dramatic, but for me, this is what it is. And I'm so thankful that we have a First and Second Amendment. But really, but tell me, what is it that what can we expect from you at the Lincoln dinner?
Yes. Well, a couple of things. I think one of the brilliant things about Republicans, and it's the reason I love Republicans in America, not just because they voted for Donald Trump, but because we are black, not only devastating looks, obviously, personality, which we have, and sadly the Democrats don't, but we also have a really good view. And there is a lot to laugh at. And I sometimes think that when the world feels as bad as it does right now, laughing is a really good remedy for us. So there is also a lot of fun. I'm around, and I will definitely be at the Lincoln dinner. The other thing that's really important from serious aspect, that at these difficult times, being together at a dinner or surrounded by people that you work with, or where you know that you are not focused on your opinion, where you can feel mind freely, it's so important. I honestly believe that people have never been alone. People feel truly alone because they have somebody else they can tell their feelings or share their views with. And that's why these dinners are so important, because I see people coming through the doors and I see their shoulders go down, because for the first time they feel like they can relax because they're among people they feel we friends. And it's not that, because Republicans think at that as well. We are happy, we have different views, we don't all have to agree about everything, but we are civil with each other and we enjoy each other's company. And so there's going to be a lot of fun. There's going to be it's brilliant to be together, and then no doubt we're big handfuls of Megxit, Brexit, and the Boris baby.
Definitely. And, we're so grateful that, you in your busy schedule have made time to come. And, some trivia for you and also for the viewers at home. The Queens Village Republican Club are actually the hosts of this Lincoln dinner. They're in their 145th year of hosting this dinner, and it is actually America's longest running Republican club. It is the oldest Republican club in the history of the United States. And, honoring our first elected Republican into office, Abraham Lincoln, it really gives, like you said, that much needed, safe space of thought. And really, it gives you that energy and adrenaline to keep fighting for our beliefs, our everyday beliefs. And, the fact that you guys were able simultaneously, to pull through and actually have Brexit finally pass is just another great perspective that can be brought onto this culture war that we're currently facing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like, the important thing for me is that we send people out the door feeling energized, ready to go again, and excited for the fight that's ahead of us. And that is not to dismiss that on our side as Republicans, we are always going to be fighting uphill, back to military terms. Mm-hmm. We are always going to be on the offensive, and we are always going to be fighting uphill, and it will always be hard. There will never be a day where it feels easy being on our side. But we are on the side of the right, and we are going to keep this fight because this fight really matters. This is a fight for America right now. And I know that whatever happens, doesn't matter what the nasty things say about me, or they try and chop my head off, or they take my jobs, or they take my home, which they have. What matters is that history will judge us for being on the side of the right. And I bring all of that with me and applaud everybody that's fighting on the side of the right.
Thank you. And right after this, and ladies and gentlemen, we were actually able to catch Ms. Hopkins via a Skype call because she'll actually be visiting, as we went over, the U.S. Tomorrow from when this is filmed. So, we here at Talking GOP are getting more high-tech every day. And coming up next, we are going to be having a repeat of our second half to promote the Lincoln dinner some more with the president of the Queens Village Republican Club and the first vice president, so that will be Phil Orenstein and Joe Concannon. And we really want to encourage and excite all of our viewers to make sure that they not only show up, support the Queens Village Republican Club as well as support the freedom of thought. Katie, we're about to run out of time. Is there anything else that you'd like to add? Where can people find you? Final thoughts.
Oh, thank you very much. Well, thank you very much for having me on your show. Congratulations on your Skype revelations here. Very, very good. People can always find me on Twitter, capital K, capital T, Hopkins, K-T Hopkins. But mostly my message is don't become like the UK. You keep hold of your second because it protects your first. And every day go out there, put your little shoulder back, put your chin up and smile because you have President Trump. He is the greatest president of all time.
Thank you so much. And we will be right back after this.
Hi, I'm Phil Orenstein, president of the Queens Village Republican Club, America's oldest Republican club, and we're having our gala 144th anniversary Lincoln dinner today. We're celebrating the party of Lincoln. This is a great day to be a Republican in New York. And we're going out, we're going to turn New York red. We're so proud to be celebrating today. Thank you all. We love you.
Welcome back, everyone. You just saw the video. You saw what the energy that Phil Orenstein has. And here is the wonderful and great Phil Orenstein, president of the oldest Republican club in the history of the United States, and with special guest, the first vice president. of the Queens Village Republican Club, I give you Phil Orenstein and Joe Concannon. Welcome so much, and thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank
you.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you, Gabriel.
So happy.
Pleasure to be here.
It's a pleasure to have you. We really wanted to have you on for a while now, especially to talk about, as the viewer saw, the upcoming Lincoln dinner.
Yeah.
Yes.
Big deal. We've got national speakers coming in, and we have one international speaker coming in as well. So we're really pumped. We think it's going to be a great event, and people are really going to be able to enjoy themselves. You know, one of the things that Phil talks about a lot with the dinner is not so much going into the dinner, but how people feel coming out of the dinner. They get so much energy coming out of that dinner. It carries them for weeks beyond the event.
Right. Yeah, it's not just, you know, it is a food festival, but so much more than that. It is a festival for the spirit, for the soul, and for our energy. Because, you know, when people, you know, leave this event, you know, we want to build a Republican Party. We want to build a movement of patriots, of idealists, of, you know, young people who are ready to, you know, to go out there and, you know, change New York City and what's happening to our, you know, beloved city of New York and our borough of Queens.
Take on the world.
Yeah, definitely.
We were going to do it from here in Queens, President Trump's hometown birthplace in Jamaica Estates, Queens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what is the date of this event?
It's March 22nd.
All right.
It's at Anthony's Caterers, which is a renowned place where, you know, nearly every president, governor of New York State, mayors, top elected officials have been in the last 50 years.
Beautiful venue, by the way.
Yeah. Oh, it's wonderful.
It's a pleasure. Yeah. I know last year we had some great speakers. It was my first time attending, and I really thoroughly enjoyed myself. So any of you guys going to come out, I really recommend you guys come out, you know, get your ticket, be there. It's going to be a real treat.
Yes.
It really is. And like I said, you know, there's a lot of excitement that gets pumped up. You know, we actually ramp up about 3 or 4 months, you know, ahead of the event because we're planning speakers, you know, all sorts of dining things, you know, the menu and everything else going on. But like I said, the really big thing here is the walk away afterwards. All right. You know, that energy that goes into the people that were there. And, you know, we get some people that come up to us, Phil, and they say, I never knew there were so many Republicans in Queens. And that's it's true. We get it's like a grand family meeting.
Right. So
you know the exciting thing is when people walk into the room and you see 300, 400, 500 like-minded Republican and conservative brethren in one room, all pumped, all excited, here in Queens, you know, which is not seen before. I mean, this type of, you know, energy and patriotism is what, you know, we want to bottle and sell. It's so valuable. And people get really pumped and energized just by walking into the room of fellow patriots.
And just imagine now, the dinner has worked its way right into the Trump organization. All right. We have the chief strategist for the President of the United States, Steve Bannon, coming in and, you know, offering his remarks at this event. He'll be our keynote speaker. I mean, that is tremendous.
Right.
Yeah, have you heard Steve speak anywhere?
I actually wasn't able to make the event that the New York Young Republicans had in the city, but I did catch the aftermath. They took footage. He's a great speaker.
Steve's a great speaker. Phil and I actually went into the city to meet him when he was previewing his documentary on China, and it was a thrilling event. And Steve is just a down to earth kind of guy. You know, he speaks practically from the standpoint of the average American citizen. So everybody's like, they automatically know that, you know, they're one-to-one with him. You know? He doesn't speak over people's heads, you know, from academia or something like that. He's just a really natural, easy to listen to kind of guy.
Yeah, at this documentary screening where he spoke afterwards, you know, the room was so quiet you could hear a pin drop. This man is an incredible brain. I went up to him afterwards. You know, I jumped out of my seat. You know, Joe said, "Go, Phil, go." And I went up and I was the first person online to meet him. So I said, "Oh, you know, hi, Steve. You know, I'm so honored to be in your presence. I'd like to invite you to be our keynote speaker at our Lincoln dinner on March 22nd. He said to me, "I'd love to."
Wow, that's
and
amazing.
He, took me over to his son.
Really?
So I talked to his son, Sean Bannon. And, we've been planning since then. This was back in December. And we've been, communicating since then, to make it a reality. And finally, we have Steve Bannon coming. Steve Bannon is one of the great, the great figures of our time, because he engineered the successful election of President Trump in 2016.
Right.
He honed the policies and gave Trump put it into a focus, into a vision, into a plan of this economic nationalism, of this national security, America First policies. It came from his brain. He was like the Karl Rove of President Trump.
And you also have emceeing the event, the Master of Ceremonies, a dear friend of mine. He was actually on the show, Rich Valdez.
Yeah, Rich Valdez, another awesome individual, a New Yorker, a really great person, has his own show, This Is America.
Yep.
And the Mr. Call Screener of Mark Levin.
Right.
And he's also like a great person. He's going to be emceeing the event. And should add a lot of vim and vigor to the event and a lot of life. And he has a great mind himself.
And you had mentioned an international guest. Who might that be?
We have Katie Hopkins coming.
Amazing.
All right, Brexit.
Yeah.
All right. I mean, Katie has distinguished herself all around the world, quite frankly, with the UK, and now we happen to be able to catch her as she's touring here in the U.S. And the dinner and the timing and everything just happened to work in. And I think when people come to the event, they're going to find her not only informative, all right, and really sticking to the conservative principles, but she knows how to tie it in with humor.
Right.
All right. She's very, very funny, and we think people will enjoy that. Because they'll get the serious part with Steve and what's going on, with him and all that, and then later on they'll get Katie, and we think as they're leaving the event, it'll be something good to kind of remember. They'll all be laughing, so to speak, as they're walking out the door and saying, "Wow, that was some event in Queens Village. That's absolutely amazing."
Definitely, and it's great that you guys were able to get her to this event, and I think it's so great that not only is this the election year's coming up for our president, but it's a great year for the conservative movement, as we've seen the great winning that the president's been doing for this country. And then on the other hand, we also finally have Brexit and our friends across the pond. And I think that momentum is really going to drive forward with our election here. So, it's really great. Also, this is what I remember off the fly on the top of my head. You're going to have Gavin Wax, if I'm not mistaken, as the
Gavin Wax is the Young Republican of the Year.
Right.
Another tremendous, passionate, idealistic patriot for the future of New York. Great individual. So he's going to be honored. We just, spoke to him yesterday. He's really pumped. He's excited. He's going to bring other young people. This is for the younger generation. We want to do this to connect them with people like Katie Hopkins, with Steve Bannon, to get their energy, to take this and to run with it here in New York City. We believe Queens is the focal point of the next Republican revolution. Like, it happened, in the past with Ronald Reagan, with Newt Gingrich in 1994. It's going to happen again here in Queens. And that's the purpose of our Lincoln Dinner. That's the purpose and the focus of our club, the Queens Village Republican Club. And, we want to generate this passion and excitement right here for people to turn history around.
Of course.
To change, New York City, where actually we have very few Republicans elected.
Right. That is very true.
To change this dynamic ultimately. It's going to happen.
It's got to grow from the grassroots.
Of course.
All right. And if all the college students out there and even the juniors and seniors in high school, if all they're hearing is, I call him Bernie Rubble, Bernie Sanders, if all they're hearing is Sanders and AOC, then they're really not getting the full picture about what's going on. and they really don't understand something that Mark Levin has talked quite emphatically about, and that's liberty and tyranny. All right, and they don't understand how their liberty is being sliced. It's almost like a salami slice. One slice right after the other, the Democrats are cutting it off. You know, your access to planes. Well, if Bernie gets in, you know, they want to cut back on planes and flights. I mean, some really crazy things, you know, or increasing the tolls, congestion pricing. All of these things that are going on here in New York, what is that doing? That's restricting your movement as average everyday New Yorkers, or it's putting a heavier cost on it, which is in effect restricting your liberty. All right, and I don't think a lot of the young people really understand that and appreciate that, because all they get from AOC and Sanders is, hey, your college education is too much. Hey, we'll give you free this. Hey, we'll give you free that. You know, it's almost like, you know, getting free popcorn in a movie and just watching these guys popping off one thing right after the other about what should be free.
Yeah, we actually we don't ever see people from socialist countries coming here saying they wish they could go back. You know, no one's leaving the United States in a makeshift raft to go into Cuba or go to Venezuela.
Well, that's what we're talking about here. We're talking about freedom. We're talking about liberty, and also reminding the people that, you know, the most valuable thing in life is at stake. You know, you've heard the expression, if you put a frog into boiling water, he'll die or jump out. But if you put him in lukewarm water and slowly raise the temperature, he'll stay in there till he dies. That's what's happening with our liberties today.
Definitely.
And this is a call to wake people up, to change their party registration to Republican, because the Republican Party, our principles and our mission, you know, embraces, you know, the basic fundamentals of liberty which this country was founded upon, and to elect, you know, those Republicans who could put those policies in place, you know, to stop this, you know, this chain of events now where our liberties are being taken away, you know, with you know, what's going on with these plastic bags and paper bag tax, you know, the congestion pricing, the jails in our communities. They're deciding, the elites are deciding our destiny for us.
Right, and I think people like Gavin Wax and the New York Young Republicans are doing a great job. I know for a fact that the Young Republicans out in Long Island, upstate in Syracuse, they're really hitting the pavement, Rockland County even, they're really hitting the pavement to make sure that this message gets out there. So, Gavin Wax has recently done a partnership with my organization, the Republican National Hispanic Assembly. We have announced that we will be doing, working a lot closer together to not only spread our message of conservatism, Republican values to the younger generation, but also to the Hispanic population.
You know, Gabe, what's important is perspective, right?
Right.
So Phil and I are older, all right, and we know what it was like.
Speak for yourself, Joe.
We know what it was like when there were 2,300 murders a year in New York City. And we know what it was like back then. You know, to me, it doesn't seem like it was that long ago. All right, but you know, you might not have been alive at the time.
I was 98. I was born.
Yeah, you were probably very young at least. All right, and you know, we want the young people to understand that perspective. All right, because all they're seeing now is they're seeing a slow, steady increase in crime, disorder, and fear. All right, they weren't back in the day where you were afraid to come out of your house, where you were afraid to go to the local grocery store, buy a loaf of bread or milk or something like that without getting accosted, or even just without being approached by a panhandler or somebody like that. You know, most of the times when I go into a Dunkin' Donuts for a cup of coffee and maybe a roll or something like that, I'm not expecting, nor do I anticipate somebody coming up to me and saying, "Hey, buddy, you got, you know, a couple of extra bucks?" You know, I do those things at church, you know, and other houses of worship and things like that. You know, that's where we give, and we let our faith community, all right, decide how to manage all of these different things, and of course the city agencies to do that as well. But it's the perspective of the young person which we want to improve.
It's definitely getting worse, and I mean, people in my age, around my age and are a bit younger that are even teenagers that I would work with when I was a camp counselor, they would say, you know, life here seems to be getting worse. I was recently on my way to CPAC. I went to the Port Authority bus station, and I'm no stranger to it. I usually go about once a month to go to PA, and it just gets worse and worse each month. The saddest thing I saw was a man with a cup asking for change, and another homeless man, and I give this one a little bit more credit. He had his resumes printed out, and he said, "I'll sell it to you for 25 cents." Man came out. It was a really sad sight, but you know, at least he was doing something, and he had his resume out there, and I respect that that drive. But there was another one, and we can maybe if we have time, we'll talk a little bit about this whole bail reform. This a man approaches me, says, "I just got let out of jail 2 days ago." This is his story, anyways. We can't really verify if it's true or not. He said, "I got let out of jail 2 days ago. I need you to come with me to give me $20 or something." I was like, "Listen, sir, I don't have any cash on me." He's like, "Oh no, I'll take you to an ATM up at Chase." I said, "No, I can't. But what I can do is I can see if I can get you a job to help you start off." He was trying to give me this whole spiel about, yeah, well, my kid and I need it. I can't verify it, and you know, I want to help him. I said, the only way I can help you is I can get you some food from that Hudson little shopette and Dunkin' Donuts, and I can try and get you a job. But aside from that, I can't. I'm not going to leave. You know.
Well, you know, this all boils down to a basic truth. You know, we want to help our fellow man. Yeah, our heart goes out to people who are like suffering or struggling or homeless or, you know, have gone over to the dark side and become criminals. But you know, how do you change this? It's a matter of leadership. And the leadership today, you know, New York is run by Democrats, and they're running it into the ground. Yes. This is the cause of the problems. This is why people are out on the street, you know, homeless. It's because of the policies of de Blasio. It's the policies of Cuomo. Cuomo, you know, put a ban on fracking. Pennsylvania is thriving. People are moving to Pennsylvania because you cross the border, and New York is becoming ghost towns upstate. And in New York City, you know, de Blasio's progressive policies have, you know, are on the way to damaging this city. Economically, you know, we have the stock market. So as long as the stock market is booming, you know, New York City will thrive. But, you know, you can see what's happening. You see what's happening in San Francisco and in Los Angeles. This is Chicago. Policies of socialism, progressivism, radical leftism, you know, that, you know, don't put people first.
Right. And it's one of the takeaways from the dinner. All right. Everybody, you know, you go into the dinner and everybody's like, "Oh, I can't believe they just did that. I can't believe they just did that."
Right.
All right. I can't believe they did all these different things. And primarily talking about the city and state agencies. You know, the city of New York calling itself a sanctuary city and all this other garbage,
Nonsense.
Right? So you come into the dinner, you hear, you know, of our speakers, you see the awards, how we're highlighting people of really some terrific achievements during their lives, and then you leave that event energized and uplifted that the Republican Party really does, as Phil says, you know, we really do care about what's going on with our fellow man out there. It's just, we believe in teaching people, you know, how to farm, rather than just giving them the fruit.
Of course.
All right, we want them to grow the tree, grow the vegetables, grow whatever it is that they need to grow. Even their own life perspective. We want them to grow as individuals so that they can stand independently on their own 2 feet and not be leaning on the government. All right? The government is there for a reason, as a safety net. All right, not to take care and coddle you for the rest of your life, and that's what de Blasio's doing.
Of course,
and that's exactly what Cuomo's doing.
Yeah, and Joe, I know that that you're a lifelong Republican, but
I am.
Phil, on the other hand, you know, we're talking about the dinner here.
We got him finally.
Yeah, we mentioned.
Thanks, Joe, for pulling me a lifeline.
We mentioned Walkaway, where Brandon Strzok actually spoke last year's dinner, and that was very powerful. Now. You were a Democrat once, a liberal. What was that like, and what made you like walk away?
Oh my gosh, I'd rather not remember. But yeah, I was actually my awakening came on 9/11. I went through the tragic years, the Dinkin years of New York, and I was a Democrat. I went through like the recovery with Rudy Giuliani. I still was a Democrat. I wasn't involved in politics. I walked through life with blinders on. 9/11 woke me up. It was a big wake-up call, mainly because of what happened the day after. You know, on 9/12, I saw American flags everywhere, and I realized for the first time in my heart of hearts how much I loved America, and I realized what America stands for. It stands for all these people from different races, religions, different backgrounds, you know, rich or poor, you know, thin or fat, or every type of human being is together under this principle of liberty and, you know, our fundamental truths enshrined in our Constitution, symbolized by the American flag. And I saw these American flags waving everywhere. I would stop and talk to people. You know, people were open to you. We didn't care, you know, where we were from or what color we were or, you know, what party we were from. We were all Americans first. And I saw this beautiful vision, and then I saw it collapse because of the political correctness of the left, and, you know, they wanted people to be victims and use this crisis to make, you know, victims out of Muslims, out of poor people, and start this whole victimization process. It started way before that, of course, but then, you know, like they were like bashing police, and you know, Al Sharpton was getting up on his podium, and, you know, and it was awful. So I changed. I said the Democratic Party has gone so far over to the left. This was back about, you know, 12, 15 years ago. And I just changed. I changed my registration to Republican. And then I went looking for...
You not only changed your registration, you changed your entire outlook on life.
That's really what it is.
Yeah, that's what it was.
And that's, Gabe, that's really what drives Phil. You know, I see Phil at every one of our club meetings, and he gets up there and he resuscitates, you know, what we are as Republicans, independent. He goes through this whole thing at every club meeting, and he does it, you know, and he doesn't memorize it because it's burned in. All right, and he truly believes it. Now I do too, but, you know, you could see it with Phil, and anyone. And that's why I love him so much, all right? Because anyone who sees Phil Orenstein knows, you know, that he's got a heart this big, all right? And he truly believes in what he stands for. And that's what really that transformation after 9/11 was for you, Phil. I mean, you know,
that's
not
true.
It wasn't just a piece of paper. It was your entire outlook on life and us here living in the United States of America. We are truly one of the greatest nations on the face of the earth.
Agreed.
And for him, I guess it was an epiphany at that time, and to bring it into focus, and he did, and now you can't stop him.
Well, that's true. That's what we want to do, and that's what the club is all about. That's what the Lincoln Dinner is all about, bringing people together under the American flag, under our Constitution, under our guarantee for our freedoms and our liberties and our rights. You know, people from all walks of life, all colors and creeds. This is what America stands for. This is the beautiful vision of the city on the hill that Ronald Reagan talks about. This was the vision that we want people to be inspired with when they walk out of the Lincoln Dinner and they go back to their communities and they get involved with our club, they get involved with a Republican candidate's campaign, and they get, you know, they get Republicans elected, and they take this spirit, you know, into their lives, and we can have a better way of life. Someone's calling me now, probably my wife. What are you doing, Phil?
Well, the great thing, and I'd say especially what we're doing here on the show, and now it's being put on our social media, is we actually have testimonials from Republicans that challenge any and everything that the Democrats say. They talk to us saying that we are, or they don't talk to us, they like to yell at us, saying that Republicans are racist, that Republicans are bigots, xenophobic, homophobic, all these isms that they throw at us. But here we have people here on the show disputing that. And I want to say thank you for really being able to drive home that message. And you know, Joe, your message is great. Phil, your message is great, and what you're trying to spread here. Now, where can people get more information about the Queens Village Republican Club, and where can they go to get their tickets?
Go to our website. We have active links to purchase tickets. It's qvgop.org. qvgop.org.
Right.
And you'll see it right on the homepage. You know, all the news, our speakers, Steve Bannon, Katie Hopkins, Rich Valdez. We're also, you know, proud to say that we're honoring, we have an annual Veteran of the Year honoree. And this year we're honoring a World War II veteran who just celebrated his 100th birthday.
Amazing.
Big deal. Really, really big deal.
And this is the most moving moment of our program when we honor, you know, one of these veterans who are heroes of the greatest generation, especially, you know, this person who's 100 years old, who's going to be escorted up by our dear friend Lester Friedman, who we honored a couple of years back, another World War II veteran from the U.S. Army Air Corps in the same division as the person who's going to be honored, Philip Kahn, a resident of Great Neck, 100 years old.
It's phenomenal, the energy that you guys are bringing into Queens, and really what you're proving. And
well, thanks for having us on the program. We appreciate it.
We definitely want to say thank you for coming on. And once, I guess, the Lincoln dinner passes or anywhere in between, we'd love to have the both of you back on again to discuss the history of the party, speak about your service as a NYPD police captain.
Oh, sure. I'd love to come in.
Thank you very much. And ladies and gentlemen, that's going to be it for our latest edition of Talking GOP. We hope you've enjoyed. Please check us out on our social media page on Facebook and on Instagram at Talking GOP. And if you have any questions, suggestions, or you'd like to come on our show, email us at talkinggopshow@gmail.com. Thank you so much for spending your hour with us, and we'll see you next time.